X-Men The Last Stand. This is the finale of the original trilogy of X-Men movies. I'm Next week we'll be talking about Elektra and then move on to Fantastic Four movies and stuff like that, and then we'll talk about uh, X-Men Origins Wolverine. But right now we're going to talk about this one. This movie's a mess, and I think that's been well documented for a while. First of all, I don't really understand why they tried to do the Phoenix Saga in this movie, because I've never read the Phoenix Saga, but I do know from people who have that storyline has this build up to hints of things throughout multiple comics. It's not just something that they just decided to throw in a one comic book and then it became a storyline. It was something set up over multiple issues for a long while. And so doing it in this third movie is a little weird. And also Jean Grey was not really a huge character in these movies. Like, I kind of forgot she was even in the second one. You know, I remember more of her moments in the first one, but in the second one I kind of forgot she was even there. So that was awkward. And you really understand how awkward this movie is from the very beginning of this movie. Because this movie starts with like 3 different intros. The first intro is Magneto and Professor Xavier are clearly in the past before, current day X-Men stuff is going on. They're trying to get this girl named Jean Grey to join their academy, right? Or their school. And there's that intro. Now, if this movie was just about the Phoenix Saga, fine intro. Second intro is a young Archangel cutting off his wings, trying to hide it from his dad. Pretty gruesome sequence. Actually, not a bad sequence, but very weird that came right after that, because they don't really tie into each other at all. Then you get the Danger Room sequence, which is cool to see the Danger Room, right? That's a cool part of X-Men lore, and it's cool to see that in the movie for the first time. But also, like, it's just, there's 3 different intros to this movie. This movie starts 3 different times. It just, like, if you want to start with the intro of the flashback, set up the Phoenix Saga, and then going into the Danger Room, cool. Because that's really, this movie needed to pick a lane. It either needed to be about the X-Men cure being a possibility and how different mutants react to that, or it needed to be about the Phoenix Saga. And it chose both, and both are fighting for screen time. Both don't have the right amount of time to be fleshed out at all. You get you get like these awkward moments. And it's also so weird because I don't know if this movie, when it came out, was advertised as a conclusion of the franchise, but if this movie wasn't meant to be a conclusion of the franchise, why are we killing Professor Xavier? Why are we making all these weird decisions? I mean, yeah, that's cool that you guys want to, like, do that, maybe focus on other mutants or go some other places with that. I know X-Men 97 comes out soon, and that's obviously going to have Professor Xavier die in the series, but that's also very weird to do in the way that they're doing it. It doesn't make any sense. And so it's just really awkward. I mean, I do like some of the moments with the storyline about the cure. I think that's a really interesting concept. Rogue obviously not being able to touch anyone. That's a very hard thing for her to deal with. She's trying to figure out, how do I deal with that? And that's an interesting conflict. Seeing that moment where Mystique accidentally gets turned, and Magneto just is like, hey, you're not one of us anymore, so fuck you, I guess. And he just walks off. And it's, yeah. The final battle of this movie was just horrible. Like, Magneto becoming a pun machine and just being like, Charles always wanted to build bridges, while he's like lifting the San Francisco like bridge. Like, what are we doing? Like, yeah, this movie, despite it's not a horrible movie. I think over years some people have kind of made this movie out to be as a, if it's like some crazy disaster. It's not. There are moments in this movie that actually are pretty solid and work throughout it, but this movie did screw up this franchise for years. This movie was really, they really had to go back and fix these decisions, like killing Cyclops, killing this character, and doing this. They really had to go reverse some of these things later on because it was just a terrible idea. I don't really understand why this movie turned out the way it did, but it did, and it's a movie I don't really like going back to because of that. I remember the first time I watched this movie, I kind of enjoyed it. When I watched it when I was a little bit younger, it was one of my favorite X-Men movies. Definitely don't think that anymore.